Okay, once we have the gasket properly inserted down inside of the radio tray lid, you are going to want to find the ESC mount, which is actually going to go right on top of that. So let's go ahead and set this down. Make sure it's lined up properly with the screw holes. And then we will take the ESC mount. Let's take a look at the directions and make sure we put it on the right way. It is going to go with the antenna mounting tab towards the rear. And we're going to set this over the top, and it's going to go down and rest on the 4 holes of the battery tray, and then we'll screw them in. Helps to use the right driver. So we're going to put 1 screw in each of the 4 holes here. And let's not completely tighten those down, let's just put them in until they touch. The reason that we're going to do that is we want to put constant pressure on them in a little hex pattern as we go around so we don't damage the seal. This being watertight is a big plus, especially if you're out there driving through rivers and whatnot like we do. So, okay, got that on. Gonna screw these in a little bit at a time. Until they're snug. Just like so. Okay. Now let's find the teeny tiny little set screw. And we are going to put that into this hole here next to where the antenna tube goes. And that's going to be the smaller portion here, not the larger one. I'll show you what that does here in a minute. Let's just get that threaded in. There we go. And we're going to take it back out. So what this does is later on when we put the antenna tube in, and you can do it now if you want, but it's going to get in the way. The antenna tube, the antenna is going to thread up through the bottom up into the antenna, and then this little set screw goes in beside the tube and it secures it just like that. That's what the purpose of that is. But we're going to just put the screw in and take the antenna out for now because it's going to get in the way of the rest of our build. But we don't want to lose the screw. Okay. Let's see if there's anything left on the instructions here. Let's just, since we're here, go ahead and move on to step number 29, and that is going to be to mount the ESC. If you're using the stock ESC, then there's going to be 2 screw holes here. If you're using a different ESC, then you're going to use double-sided tape to hold it on. Let's go ahead and mount this up. Get it done and mounted and out of the way. Having a hard time finding the hole. There we go. Just put some pressure on it and it threads right in. Don't want to tighten it too tight. I started tightening, I could feel it pulling up on the other side here, so don't want to break any ears off. So go ahead and just tighten them up till they touch. Mount the second one. Really have to push to get those threaded. It's pretty hard plastic. There we go. We now have a mounted ESC. Looks like we gauged the length on the wire here properly. If you want, you can manually push some more back in and tuck it to the side just to make it a little bit cleaner. And then we have our antenna wire here, which we can run up. I forgot to look, but I'm assuming that there is a hole in the bottom here. Guess I could look. Yes, there's a very tiny hole in the bottom of this tube for the antenna wire to come up. I'm going to do that off camera, but we're going to go ahead and pull that antenna wire through there to get it up out of the way while we're building the rest of the rig. And I'm sure, as some of you noticed in the last step, I mounted the ESC backwards as to what it shows in the direction. So I flipped it around so that the motor plugs are towards the rear of the build. Yay! I routed the cable just around the side and underneath, and I'm assuming I see a little notch here. See if I can get this out of the way, in the servo, not the servo, the ESC mount. And I'm assuming that we can actually pull this wire down through that little, can't see that on the camera very well, through this little hole to tuck it in. And I may or may not do that later when I hook up my radio. I'll check that out and see, but for the meanwhile, it runs nice and clean just right down the side here, and the antenna wire is all pulled up through. So we're all good.